The website for the U.S. News Travel says that the #1 place to visit in the world is Paris, France, and I would have to agree. I've seen Paris countless times on movies or TV shows, and I'm sure all of you have as well. And it's a place where a lot of people would love to go. In 2005, I was lucky enough to go on a school trip to Europe, and one of the places that we got to go was Paris, and it was my favorite place. I loved going there to see the new atmosphere that I hadn't experienced before. I loved seeing so many famous sites, and I loved seeing the history that took place there. I grew up in a small town in northern Arizona, so going to Paris, I knew was going to be a whole new experience for me. I loved using the money, the new money, the euro there. I loved riding the Metro for the first time. It was really fun to see all the cafes on the streets and people just sitting there enjoying the day. Also, in Paris, a lot of people ride bikes. So they just had bikes lined up along the streets, and I would probably recommend it because it was a little scary. Later on, I'll show you a picture of the Arc de Triomphe, and around it, it's just a big place where you can drive. But there's no lines, and it's madness, and our tour guide said it was called the death trap. But Thomas Jefferson once said, "A walk about Paris will provide lessons in history, beauty, and in the point of life." And I would just have to agree. It was great seeing the atmosphere. It was great being in a new cultural place. But even more than that, I loved seeing some of the famous sites that I had only dreamed about. My favorite place that I was able to go was the Eiffel Tower. I was so excited to go there. And the #1 thing I was going to do when I went there was get a statue of the Eiffel Tower. So about right here, they have a tourist shop. So I bought myself a little Eiffel Tower. But it was cool going there. We went there at night, and I don't know if you guys know this, but they actually have lights that cover the Eiffel Tower, and at nighttime, every once in a while, the whole thing just starts twinkling. So that was pretty awesome. Another place that I got to go to was the Versailles, and it was breathtaking. I fell in love with it when I went there. Every room has murals all over the ceilings, all of them different, and the gardens outside were stunning. They were just beautiful, and they just went on forever. I went to the Notre Cathedral, and the stained glass in the windows that were so old, it was just beautiful. And I actually didn't get to go into the Louvre because the days that I was there, it was closed, but it was beautiful outside. But I think it would be a great place to go see if it was open. They have over 35,000 pieces of art at one time, and they're changing exhibits. But probably the most famous piece of art that they have there would be the Mona Lisa. So as I was going around seeing all these wonderful places, history came alive for me. I loved it. It was my favorite part of the whole trip. There was so much history in Paris. I could have never imagined. One of the places that I loved, and this is the Arc de Triomphe, where I was talking about where you could drive around it. Napoleon Bonaparte asked them to build it when he came into power, and they actually didn't even finish it until after he was exiled. But every year they have the armed troops march through the Arc, and they've used it in a lot of historical events, such as they marched through it after the French Revolutionary War, and they marched through it after World War II, and Napoleon was actually, his body was marched through it after he died. Another place that I mentioned earlier was the Versailles. The Versailles is just rich with history. It's so many kings and queens that lived there, and probably one of the most famous queens that lived in the Versailles would be Marie Antoinette before she was beheaded. Another historical fact about the Versailles is it was where they signed the Treaty of the Versailles after World War I, and this is where they signed it, in the Hall of Mirrors, and it was just beautiful. Going to Paris and just seeing the history and walking in the same place where historical places or events happened was amazing. It was such a cool experience to be where Marie Antoinette walked and talked and spent her time. It was just an amazing experience. I loved seeing the culture of the people. I loved the atmosphere. I loved seeing all the famous historical sites and seeing so many just wonderful places. I didn't get to see half of what I wanted to see. I saw that actually in only a day and a half. I didn't get to spend very much time there. So I'm hoping that I can go back one day and go to the Louvre and spend more time in those places that I love so much. And I hope that one day you guys can go there too.